So we are doing basic Ruby from the odinproject.com, and in this video we'll be covering basic data types. I am also starting with this only, so yeah. Okay, Ruby programming. So by the way, I have my Brave browser opened up on my left hand side, and on the right hand side I have IRB, or interactive Ruby shell, which will enable us to execute Ruby commands, Ruby scripts on the go. Okay, so if you're not familiar with Ruby and if you haven't installed it on your system, actually you can just simply go to the odinproject.com and sign up, or actually the first introduction chapter I skipped over it. I have already installed Ruby and you can read up on it, and otherwise you can obviously search for install Ruby on Google or YouTube and you'll get it. Okay, so let's start with basic data types. Introduction. Ruby is strongly object-oriented language, which means absolutely everything in Ruby is an object. Even the most basic data types. We'll start here with 4 Ruby's basic data types: numbers, integer and float, strings, symbol, and boolean. This symbol is great, I'll show you. Okay, so booleans basically true, false, and nil, and we'll see each of them in detail later in this chapter. Okay, so for all the examples throughout this lesson, feel free to follow along in IRB, which I will be doing. Alternatively, you can use relp.it, which you can basically repl.it. And yeah, I have a couple of REPL before, so I'll just create a new one. I'll choose the language as Ruby, and you can give it your own name. It actually assigns a random name, and I'll just create a REPL. And there we have it. We can simply write here like puts 1 plus 1. I guess this should work, and this should return 2. So yeah, alternatively you can do anything you like. These are just the 2 ways that I prefer. I prefer IRB. Okay, so what will be the learning outcomes? By the end of this lesson, you will be able to list the basic arithmetic operation, what they do, okay, describe the difference between an integer and a float and how to convert between those two, explain string interpolation and concatenation, describe what escape characters are and list several examples, define what a symbol is and how it differs from a string. This is again very interesting. Okay, explain what booleans are. Okay, so let's start with numbers. You probably already know what numbers are, obviously, so there's no need to go into elaborate metaphors here. Obviously, Ruby has all typical math operation that you would expect. I already showed you 1 plus 1, and there would be minus as well, 2 minus 1, and there will be multiplication using star, okay, and there will be 10 by 5. Okay, that's simple. 10 by 7. So notice there we do not get the decimal part here, right? So this is indeed an integer division. Alternatively, you can just simply do something like this. Okay, and we'll okay, so let's see, 2f. This will convert 7 to f. So alternatively, you can do this as well. Anyways, then we have exponents. So what exponents are? Basically 2 raised to power 3, that's 8, right? And 3 raised to power, let's say 8, you can confirm that via calculator. Anyways, so we have a modulus operator as well, which gives us a remainder. Okay, so this slash or division gives us the quotient, and this percent or the modulus operator gives us the remainder of the operation. Okay, so integers and float. There are 2 main types of numbers in Ruby. Integers are whole numbers such as 10. Floats are numbers that contains a decimal point, like we saw. This one is a float and this one is a number, right? So such as 10.5, 10.0 or 0.25. It's important to keep in mind that when doing arithmetic with 2 integers in Ruby, the result will always be an integer, as I showed you here. There were 2 integers which we were dividing, and we always get an integer, right? So we'll get 3, not 3.4, like we saw it here. To obtain an accurate answer, just replace one of the integer with expression with a float, like we did with 7.0. Okay, same thing. Converting number type. So like I showed you, to f we can convert to integer like 2-int. So the important thing to note, the reason why we are able to give a dot to a number here, like we are not able to do it in any other language, if you remember, right? So read the first line here. Ruby is a strongly object oriented programming, right? So every data type, everything here is an object, and every object has a method, right? So these are the method for the integers or the numbers, right? So we can say something like 4.5 dot to I, and this will be converted to integer, and it will simply just get rid of the decimal part. Okay, and if we do something like 4 to f, it will just add a dot 0. Okay, as shown in the last example above, when Ruby converts a float to an integer, that is simply cut off. Like I showed you, Ruby doesn't do any rounding in this conversion, right? So if it was 4.8 also to f, it will just remove, sorry, to I, it will just remove dot 8, not it will round up to 5. Okay, so there are other number methods. Okay, so like we can ask like 4 dot even. Okay, so this is a convention, question mark. It is just in the name. Okay, it's in the name of the method. Okay, that's a convention that it will return a boolean value. It's not compulsory to add it, but it's just a convention. So is 4 true? Yeah, it's true. But is 7 even? No, it's not. And same way we have with odd as well. So yeah, 7 is odd. So it's, wait, are you able to see that? Yeah, so 7 is odd, that's why it returns true. Okay, so next we have strings. Obviously numbers have a lot of methods, and we can simply access that like Ruby number methods. We can just go to the documentations, and we will have loads of them. Actually, let's open this Ruby doc, and we do have a lot of methods, right, for the numbers. For the time being, let's stick to the doc here, and we will implement all those methods when necessary while we are implementing a project, while we are building a project, right? But for now, we just need to remember that in Ruby we can apply all sorts of arithmetic operation like addition, division, or even exponent between two numbers. Okay, and the numbers are objects, that's why we can have multiple methods on it, like even, odd, or even convert float to integer, right? So next we have strings. Strings are wonderful things. Use them well and your app will grow things. Wait, what? Strings, what I want for, okay, that's something like poem. Okay, at first glance you might think that strings are just a bunch of characters that aren't useful beyond getting user input and outputting some information to the screen, like Burt Reynolds passing up the chance to play Han Solo. You'd be wrong, very wrong. And what were you thinking, bro? Okay, so basically they are not just limited to getting user input and outputting something on the screen. Okay, they are much more than that. Let's see how. Double and single quote mark. Okay, strings can be formed with either double or single quote. Here there isn't a rule that you have to have a single character in single quotes and the string or the group of characters in double quotes. There's no rules as such, also known as string literals, right? They are pretty similar. Literals are basically like the literal value strings, right? But here are some differences. Specifically, string interpolation and escape characters that we'll discuss soon will only work inside quotation mark, not in single. Okay, so we'll be using something called as string interpolation and concatenation, which, as they say, won't. Okay, so escape characters won't work inside. Let's see. If we add \n, it will be displayed as \n. But if we do something like this, okay, oh, that's not a backslash, my bad. Wait, what's happening? Okay, that's weird. Okay, let's see, why is it not escaping n? Let's see. Okay, concatenation. In true Ruby style, there are plenty of ways to concatenate strings. Okay, so we can concatenate. Concatenate is basically grouping together multiple strings, right? So we have hello and then space, and then we can add another string, world. Okay, and the result will be the group. And similar way, we can have double arrow, the angular brackets, right? And this will group strings as well. Okay, and then we have .concat method. So we can simply say something like hello and .concat and world. Obviously I didn't give any space, that's why. And yeah, so and we can, you know, have multiple .concat chained to each other, like so. Concat, and let's give an exclamation mark here, and yeah. Okay, classic Ruby. Okay, substring. So substring is basically you know, there's a string and we want a part of it, so we extract a substring of it. Okay, so let's say we have again hello here, hello, so we can access substring or the position of string by using this, like so. So 0 basically stands for the what do you say, so in strings or in array, the positioning starts from 0. So here h is 0, then 1, then 2, then 3, then 4. Okay, so the length of the string is actually 5. There are 5 characters in it, but the first position is 0. Okay, hope that makes sense. And yeah, so that's how we extract a single character. But let's say we want to extract a substring of it. So what we'll do, we'll say something like this. So let's say I want to start from 1, then go till 4. So 4th, so leaving 0. Okay, I went from 1 till 4. Okay, but if I do something like this, comma 4, it'll do the same thing. Okay. Okay, yeah, so this will be -1. So last one, -1. All right. Escape characters. Now we see escape characters. Okay, so in ERB I cannot just return it, so that's what I was doing wrong. So escape characters basically allows us to escape something, right? So the backslash is used for something. Let's say these are basically some meaningful or some special characters. Okay, so if we want to show a backslash, we will have to give a double backslash. Okay, because as I said, backslash is an escape character. Now if we say something like \n, it will print a new line. Okay, this is a new line. Okay, and same way there are many backslashes. Like let's say I want to say hello and then world. It'll break that in two parts, two lines. Okay, and let's say if I give \t, it'll give a tab space. Okay. Okay, and let's say I am writing inside a quote, double quote, right? So I want to give a double quote inside this. So what I'll do, I'll simply backslash or escape that quote inside this and print. Oh wait, yeah. Backslash quote, then backslash quote, and it'll print world inside quotes. Okay, so that's how basically we can escape characters, because obviously if we don't put it, this will be the end of this starting quote, right? So that's why we need to escape this, so that the last quote is the end of the first quote. Okay, I'm just repeating myself. Okay, so that's the escape character. Interpolation, this is very, very amazing. So basically what we do, let's say we take input from a user and we have saved it inside name, like Arpan. Okay, we have name. We have name now. Okay, that's Arpan, and we want to show it somewhere. So obviously we can do something like this: name, hello. We can concatenate it, right? But a cooler way, or a simpler way to do it would be like this. So obviously if we print out name like this, it will just show the name, but we need to print it like in what do you say, variable, right? So what we'll do, we'll interpolate it, and the way we interpolate it, hash, then curly braces, and inside that we add the variable name, and that will print our variable value. Okay, and as I was saying, if we do it inside single quote, it will not print, it will not interpolate. So that's one thing you have to keep in mind. Common string methods. Okay, now as we saw in the case of numbers, even and odd and 2f and 2i, here we have some strings method as well. Okay, there are many useful string methods that are built into Ruby. You need to capitalize a word, no problem. Reverse a string, easy peasy. Extract the binary subatomic subatomic algorithm from any regex grep. Okay, they don't know as well. Okay. Okay, but since this is Ruby, let's go with yes. Okay, we can do that as well. Okay, just remember, strings have loads of method provided to you for free, and you can find them all in Ruby docs. As we opened for numbers, you can search in Google as well. Okay, we have a lot of methods. If you're working with strings and you need to do something, check Ruby docs first and see if there's a method. Okay, so if you are trying to do something with strings, and you probably there will be a method to do that. Okay, and you just need to check. Okay, so like if I want to capitalize hello, I'll just dot capitalize it, capitalize, yeah, and the small h becomes capital H. Okay, so we can check if something if this string includes something. So let's say include question mark, it will return a true or false value. That's why we are indicating it as a question mark, right? So we can simply say hello, yes it does, and if we say LOI, it doesn't. Okay, amazing. Upcase basically will change it to basically all of the characters to uppercase. Okay, and there should be a lowercase as well. Okay, there's a downcase, and it will change all of the characters to lowercase. Okay, so we can check if a string is empty question mark, and there's no empty. Okay, so it's not empty. Okay, we can check if an empty string is empty, and yes, indeed it is empty. We can check the length of the string using length, hello dot length, and remember I said the length will be 5, just the last index will be 4, right? So the length is indeed 5, but the last index, okay, let's see, 4 will be hello, O will be O, right? So if you want to reverse a string, we can do that simply, reverse. If you need to split a string, oh, this is amazing. So we have a word, right? Sentence, right? Hello world, and we need an array of words it contains. So we can simply say we want to split the string with a space, and we have the strings separated with space. Now if we need to separate it, all the characters, right? So we have all the characters including the space in the between, okay, as an array. It's amazing. Okay, strip basically, let's say you're taking an input, right? So what you can do, you can simply strip it, basically trim it, right? Strip, and it'll remove all the spaces at the end, only at the end, and maybe at the beginning. Yeah, it'll just trim from the front and end, and it won't harm any of the spaces in between. Okay, so we have a lot of other things, right? So we have sub, basically substitute. This will replace the first character with the second character. Okay, let's say hello, wait, H770. Okay, I want to substitute 7 with 1. Oh wait, L. Okay, so this will substitute the first occurrence of this first argument, right? But if we do a G sub to the same thing, it will replace all the occurrence of the first letter or the first character with the second character or string. Okay, then we have insert. We give an index, so we want to insert space dude at the end. So end will be this, and we want to insert there. Okay, and then we want to delete L, so it will go ahead and delete all of the L's, and we want to prepend hello world. Okay, so append basically at the end, and prepend will be at the front, so it will prepend hello world at the front of this exclamation mark. Okay, the assignment will go much deeper, so go through them thoroughly and be sure to play around with REPL as you read. Converting other objects to string. So basically we can convert phi to s. Okay, so this was an integer and we converted it to string, which you can see by the double quotes. Same way we can convert a symbol. Symbol basically, that's the next thing we'll read. Symbol basically starts with a colon. Okay, symbol, and we can convert that to string as well. Okay, and same way with nil basically is nothing. Okay, that's the null for as in other languages. All right, so we are at symbols now. Symbols are interesting twist. Symbols are an interesting twist on the idea of a string. The full explanation can be a bit long, but there's a shorter version of it. String can be changed, so every time a string is used, Ruby has to store it in memory, even if an existing string with the same value already exists. Symbols, on the other hand, are stored in memory only once, making them faster in certain situations. One common application where symbols are preferred over strings are the keys in hashes. We'll cover them in detail in hashes lesson later in the course. You won't need to use symbol much in the beginning, but it's good to get familiar with what they are and what they look like so you can recognize them. Create a symbol. So we basically created a symbol, right? We just give a colon at the start and give the name. Okay, so basically what we did, what it said, so string can be changed, right? So every time we create a new string, the compiler or the interpreter will allot a new memory to the string, right? But symbol once created, this symbol will be only stored once in our memory, and every time we need to refer to this symbol, it will go to the same memory location. Okay, I guess we can do something like dot object code. Okay, that's object ID, right? Object ID. Let's clear this up, and object ID. Alright, and let's do this again. Notice these two object IDs, are they same? Yeah, they are same. And if we do something like symbol dot object ID, and let's wait. Let's do it again. Okay, so every time I called object ID on string, it was different. Okay, but even if I do symbol ID, symbol object ID, it will be same as before, because it is stored in memory only once and it will refer to the same memory. But every time we create a string, it allocates new memory, and in certain situations it can be, useful. But we'll do that mostly in hashes, okay, in hash maps, and sometimes in functions argument as well. So we'll see that later. Okay, symbols versus string to get. Okay, they did the same thing. Okay, here they're comparing the object ID of string and object ID of symbols. So we saw that. Okay, Booleans. You will learn about these data types more in conditional logics, right? Lesson later in this course. The goal of this lesson is for you to get a basic understanding what booleans are. Booleans are basically true or false values. Okay, so something is true, then it's true. If something is false, it's false. We have seen these in the before methods as well with the return types, right? The number dot even question mark will return a true or false depending on the number is even or odd, right? So that's what the value it returned is called, right? The true or false, the values are called booleans. That's all, nothing very complicated. Nil, it's something. Okay, in Ruby, nil represents nothing, as I told you before. Everything in Ruby has a return value. Okay, when a piece of code doesn't have to return anything, it will return nil. This is pretty abstract, but okay, so I can show you something like this. Remember we were doing puts, right? Hello world. So puts basically displays something on the screen, right? Okay, and there's something gets, I guess. Okay, so gets basically gets the input, and puts basically prints out to the screen, screen, right? So you notice that this does not need to return anything, right? It will simply just print something to the screen. That's why the return type, this arrow shows the return type. The return type of puts function, puts method, is nil. Okay, oh, that makes sense. Okay, but it will make more sense as you learn and use Ruby more. Okay, so assignment for this is read basic chapter for launch. I'm not gonna do that. Okay, finally complete the basic data type exercise for this. Okay, let's do this. Okay, let's open up, and yeah, let's set it up together. I'll just copy it, and basically this is the basics exercise folder. Okay, and we need to set it up like this. So we need to clone it first. So what I'll do, I'll open a new terminal, and I'll simply go to my projects, and let's say, do I have the Odin project? I do have the Odin project, and I guess I have Odin project. No, the Odin project. I guess I would have the Ruby exercises, right? So I'll just go Ruby exercises, and okay, so I do have Ruby basics. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll simply just recheck. I'll just bundle install. Let's make sure everything works fine. And okay, it's installing some packages. Okay, so bundle complete. And what I'll do, I'll simply run bundle execute rspec. Basically this is the test file. Okay, no examples found, 0 examples, 0 failures. Wait, okay, so this is working indeed. So what I'll do, I'll simply go to Ruby basics. Yeah, and we are doing data types, right? One data types, and I'll open up in a code. Okay, I have done the exercises, right? I have done the exercises, but yeah, I have done the exercises. So basically there are 2 exercises. Let me remove all of them and get back to you. Okay, so I have completed. So how do we need to check? Okay, so how do we check, right? So we have to go inside the folder which I am already in, data types, and we need to run bundle exec run, and we need to pass on the name of the file which we want to run, the test file. Okay, and all of the tests should fail. Okay, amazing. Now let's get back to the numbers exercise, and let's once check for strings as well, because this should work strings, and yeah, everything's failing. Awesome. Okay, so let's add this one. So a plus b. Okay, so the last line of Ruby code returns. Okay, we need not to explicitly do return something like this in function. We just need to write the expression, and the last line will return it. Okay, next thing, this is a function, and which we will see later in greater depth, but basically this def keyword defines a function. The add is the name of the function, and this thing inside a parenthesis are the arguments which will be passed to this function. And inside the function, before the end keyword basically marks the end of that function, the definition of that function, and between these 2 lines we can write anything to that function, basically define the functions. Okay, the operation of the function. Now we have the add function in place, which should return the result adding a plus b. So we are simply returning this, and let's go ahead and check our numbers. And now we should see our adds to number test case is passing. We have that in okay, so there are 13 examples and 12 are failures, so 1 is passing. Now let's fix everything and check that in the end. So b minus a, b from a. Okay, so b from a, that means a minus b. And okay, so return the result of multiplying a into b. That's pretty straightforward actually. A times b, and the result of dividing a by b. Okay, that's pretty straightforward. Remainder, okay, dividing a by b, oh wait, the remainder, right? So should return the remainder by dividing a by b. Okay, float division. So what we can do, we can do b dot to f. So this will convert b to float and it will perform a float division. Okay, string to number. So we have a string, we need to convert it to an integer, right? So we can simply do something like 2i, and that should work. Even, okay, so we need to have our own even. So why can't we simply use even number dot even, and this will return true or false for that. And we can also use the same thing for the odd function as well. Now let's go ahead and test our numbers exercise, and all tests are passing and 0 failures. Okay, pat back if you are following till now. Now let's do the string exercise. Okay, so we need to concatenate string with the classic keyword. Okay, so let's do something like this. So we'll copy this and we can simply do something like hash and then this. Then we need to again concatenate hello with string, and we can simply say something like this, and we can remove this angular bracket, add it to G. Okay, the substring, return the first 4 letters of the from the word of substring. So we need to return word, then 0 dot dot 4. Okay. Okay, will that return 4? Let's check. If we have hello, will doing 0 dot dot 4, okay, it will return. Okay, so in this thing we need to pass the index of the,
sorry, I don't understand.
my bad.
The mic's off.
Okay, so in this dot dot thing we need to give it a range from the starting index to end index. I guess in the comma it should return the next 4, right? So I'll just do comma here. Then capitalize. Okay, so we can simply say word dot capitalize since we already have that, so I'll just use that. Now we have string uppercase for uppercase, uppercase. Then we have downcase, like the function name here as well, downcase. Then we have empty string, so we can check dot empty question mark, and this should return a boolean. Okay, then we can do something like string dot length to return the gth to this, return the length of the string. Then we can reverse the string using reverse. Okay, so these are very similar to that. Okay, so we have to remove all the spaces using gsub. So we can do something like string, we have to remove the space with space, so we can add gsub, because sub will only replace one space with nothing, empty string, but we need to remove all the spaces, right? All the spaces. So we'll use gsub, and let's save that and go to our compiler, this, and let's check for the strings rb strings exercise, and again all of the test cases are passing. And I guess we have completed all the assignment. Okay, so there are additional resources, right? And there is a knowledge check which you can do yourself, right? So you can ask yourself question: what is a string, what are the basic arithmetic. Basically, that's everything based on this video. So if you watched the video till now, you're good. Okay, so I'm just gonna mark it as complete and move to the next lesson, which is variables, which we'll be covering in the next video. So stay tuned, and if you haven't subscribed, subscribe to the channel, because I'm serious about creating content now, and I'll be regular, I promise you that. Okay, so it's 7 in the morning and I haven't slept, so I'm just gonna go and take a nap, and bye bye.